evening, my crafty friends. Back again on my new channel, Angela Shows You, and tonight we are going to be working on making an apron. It is one of my popular sellers at craft shows, and so I just wanted to take some time while I'm making some and show everybody my tips and technique on how I make a double-sided apron. So I'll give you my measurements. You're going to cut on the fold of the fabric. So we're going to you're going to put your wrong sides together. And you're going to cut. So my mat happens to be 36 inches, which happens to actually be the recipe that I use. So it's 36 inches tall. And then you're also going to take it and you're going to come this way and you're going to cut it this 15. When you open it up, it'll be 30 inches. Oh, while it's still folded in half, you're also going to want to cut out your arm piece. So, from the corner, we're going to cut in so what you're going to do, you're going to have your 15-inch piece of fabric here. So from the corner up here, you're going to go in. The original pattern I had said 5.5 inches. I've actually been going in 5. That just gives a wider bib here, and you'll have just a little bit more space, on this portion here by going in 5 instead of 5.5, which is what the original pattern that I have. And then it tells you to, so what you do, you come in your 5 inches, make a mark on your fabric, then come down 9 inches, make a mark at the 9-inch mark. Then I usually will take a pen, draw just a little bit of a line, then I come in with a pair of scissors and cut that section out. And I actually use this piece that I cut out, I use that for my pockets. So when you open it up, you would have your piece of fabric that ends up being I find that this size actually works quite well. So you've got your piece here, your neck straps are going to go here, and then and I actually also changed out the pattern that I used because it called for one continuous strap. I've actually found that my customers tend to like when I just have 2 straps like you would have at the waist. I have 2 so that you can adjust. How high up do you want your apron to go? Do you want, maybe you want to pull it a little bit tighter so that your apron sits up here. Maybe you want it a little bit looser, so it's down a little bit farther. So I actually cut 2 pieces for the neck and then also 2 pieces that are going to go on the sides. So I take those, the cutouts from the armpit, and I use those for 2 pockets. So I'm also going to, I've already taken pieces and I've sewn them and gotten everything all prepared. I left one piece. This is actually one of the neck straps. So this is 24 inches long, and it's 2 inches wide. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to make this so that you don't see any of the raw edges. So what you're going to do is, I've done this portion already. You're going to take that, you're going to fold it in half, and you're going to iron in half. Then we're going to take each of those halves, we're going to fold it in, and we're going to iron down, and then we're going to take the other side and we're going to fold that in. So this is what we're doing. So we've ironed it in half, and now we're taking our strip and we're going to fold it in. And I don't fold it right to the fold line. I give just a tad bit of space. Okay, and then we're just going to repeat that on the other side. We're going to fold it in, not quite to that center mark, and that's because we're going to take this again and we're going to fold it back. So we don't want the fabric to meet in the center, otherwise your center mark is going to be very bulky. Okay, so then it gets hot. Watch your fingers. So then we're just going to take that and we're going to fold that in half, and we're going to iron it again. And I do like to keep the steam on when I do this because it makes a nice crisp seam. You just want to be careful that you don't get that steam on your fingers. Like that. Okay. So this is actually going to be the neck piece. Now the side strap pieces, I left the entire 36 inches of the fabric, but I cut those at 4 inches wide. So the side, your side straps are going to be a little bit wider, than the neck straps. And I find that that works nicely because you've got a thinner strap, so when you're tying it up behind your neck, you don't have a lot of that bulk. You're tying 2 pieces behind your neck, so you don't want a real thick piece of material because you're tying a bow probably, or at least a loose knot back there, so you don't want all that bulk being back there behind your neck, especially people who may not wear their hair pulled back. You don't want all that back there. So I do these a little bit thinner than I do the waist straps. So after you get your 2 neck straps and your 2 side straps, so again, the neck straps I cut, and you feel free. I've actually taken several different patterns that I've come across online, and I've kind of actually merged and taken my favorite parts out of different patterns and I've made my own. So I cut 2 neck pieces, 24 inches by 2 inches, and then you're gonna fold it in half and then fold each side in, and that way you get, you know, your nice clean edge. So, and then you're gonna sew all the way down, so across, and sew all the way down the other side, and then one of the two ends, all you're going to want to do is just fold it in just a little bit. That way you get a nice a nice finished look there. And actually I just want to give that a little bit of a press so that it holds together. And then I'm also going to just pin that or clip that to keep it nice and put together. So after you've got all your straps sewn, you're going to have your, so this one is one of the waist straps that I've sewn. So all the way down, I did the same thing for this. You take it, fold it in half, and then fold each side in towards that center fold, and then sew it all the way down, across, all the way back, fold it in. In this case, I actually forgot, before I finished, I forgot to fold it in. So all I did was I took that raw edge, I folded it over once, and then I folded it over a second time, and then I sewed that closed. That gives, you know, a little bit of a more finished look. And then you take out these, you know, little fuzzy pieces. So then you have your finished piece end that looks like this, which is totally fine. And I did it that way because I forgot to fold it in nicely, but I haven't had any complaints to date. So then the next thing that I do is I get my pockets ready. So like I said, I took the 2 pieces that I cut out from the armpit, so I use those as my pockets. So what I like to do on that is fold the top over once, twice. That way you have a nice seam for your pocket. And then I took that and I sewed it. So the next step is going to be, before you do anything else with your material, you're going to want to sew the pockets on. So we will go ahead and we will sew the pockets. And when I do the pockets, I like to do those with a zigzag, and I already have the machine set on the zigzag stitch. I've got it, it sets on, it changed to me, so I have a 3.5 millimeter width and a 1.4 millimeter length, so it's a nice tight stitch. And then you just want to go forward, go back a stitch or two, and then continue on forward. When you get almost to the corner, you're going to want, with your needle in the down position, lift up your presser foot, pivot your material, lower your foot back down, and and you're going to sew it. So I'm at the corner of one pocket. I actually have 2 pockets on here. But I'm going to do the same thing. I got to the corner at the bottom. I'm going to pivot and I'm going to come back up to the top of the pocket. And we're going to back tack that a little bit. So there's one pocket sewn on. So then we are going to repeat for pocket number 2. Okay, so there we go. We sewed on 2 pockets on this super adorable rooster material that I picked up about a year ago. Okay, so then the next step that you're going to do is you are going to take this is the front, and I actually just have a solid red for the back. Now, there are other aprons that I have made where I have had a print on the reverse side as well. So they're always reversible. Just that this, I couldn't really find anything that I liked that went well with this. You know, the only thing I probably really could have done was like a black and white check, maybe a red and white check, but I just decided to go with solid red. So my whole point though is if you were doing this as a reversible apron and you had 2 materials that have a print on them, at this point you want to make sure that you put them together right sides together. So your print on your reverse side would go like face up, and then this one is going to go face down on it. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to place our neck straps and our waist straps. We're going to pin them on in place, and then we would take that and we would start sewing that together. So I tend to simply, this one's got to be sewn. So what I do, you know, line them up at the bottom, kind of, you know, shake it out a little bit. Line everything up nice. Stick a few pins in so that things stay in place for you. You know, you don't want everything to go shifting at this point in time. You want things to start staying in place. That way when you're putting your neck straps and your waist straps on, everything hasn't moved down here on you. Okay, so I just, you know, a few random ones here and there. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take our straps, and now you want to pay attention when you are tucking your straps in. You want the raw side here. You want the raw side of the strap to be on the raw side of the material. You want to tuck in the finished side. So you've got your right sides together. You're going to tuck in. That's right, I didn't do that yet. I tend to use, you can use 3 or 4 finger widths. 3 seems to be a good number that I usually go with, which actually is about 2 inches. So 3 finger widths from the corner. You want it to be hanging out just a little bit. And you're going to simply pin or clip that in place. When it comes to the straps, I actually pin these down 2 times to make sure that it stays straight. So then we would do the other thing on the other side. We're going to take the raw side and we're going to take 3 fingers from the corner, place it, and pin it in place. And again, I am going to use 2 pins here because I just want to make sure that it doesn't shift around on me as I'm moving things around. And then for the neck, same thing. So I'm actually going to take my corners here and I just want to pin the corners because I don't want things moving around on me now that I'm starting to get things in place. So pin or clip So same thing for the neck straps. You just want to make sure that you got your finished edge is going to be tucked in. The raw edge is going to go out, and I usually do 2 fingers on the neck instead of 3 like I do on the waist. So 2 fingers. Take your strap and pin. This isn't as wide, so this doesn't accommodate 2 pins. And then you would take your other neck strap and you would do the same thing on the other side. Then when you have that, we're not going to do that because we have to sew that. However, I am making 2 of this material, and I already have the other one all ready to go. So this one is, I've got all the straps all ready to go. So with our 2 right sides together and all the straps are in, you're just going to pick a spot. I tend to start at the bottom, at the bottom hem. And I'm going to kind of start, so we've got our bottom hem here. You don't want to sew the whole thing because you're going to want to turn this right side out. So the reason I start at the bottom is because I like to pull it right side out from the bottom. So I usually will start at the bottom here, and I will start somewhere past the halfway mark, go all the way around, and then stop, leaving a good gap of at least, 4 or 5 inches on here, because there's a lot on here. Because I make these to sell, these will be on my website, sohandydesigns.store. I'm actually also going to attach my label. My label that just says So Handy Designs Limited Edition. So on one of the sides, I'm going to take this and I'm going to just raw edges to raw edges. I'm going to just pick a spot. I usually kind of do it a little bit down towards the bottom. And I'll pin that in place. So the seam allowance that you choose to use is completely up to you. I tend to do, I usually like to just go ahead and use my sewing needle as my guide all the way around. So it's a little more than 1/4. So down, we can change this back. We can change this back to a regular stitch. Don't forget to back. And we're just going to go all the way around. Leave the needle down. When you get to your corner, pivot. Now, when I get to all 4 of my straps, I'm actually, you're tugging on your straps, you're tying them, you're untying them. So they tend to get a little bit of stress, right? So I like to actually go back and forth over that a couple of times and just really reinforce those stitches. So just be careful. You don't want to sew over your needle, your pins. You'll end up breaking your needle. Okay, so I'm on the strap, so I'm just gonna sew. I'm gonna go back. Is it overkill? It might be, but I've made them as gifts, but I'm selling them. My name is attached to it. I don't want it to fall apart on my customer. The first time she wears it, I don't want her to wash it, and well, him or her. I don't want my customer to wear it 2 or 3 times, run it through the wash once and it's fallen apart because I didn't, give any special attention to the stress areas of the garment. So in my opinion, it's worth the 2 seconds that it takes to stick the machine in reverse and just go backwards a little bit. So when we get to the armpit area, because it's curved, my best advice is to simply just go slower. You're not going to be able to go full force ahead because you want to follow the curve of the material. The best way to follow the curve of the material is to just slow down a little bit. Take your foot off the presser just a little bit. Don't slam on it and just vroom, full speed ahead. Slow down a little bit, take your time, follow the curve of the material with the needle. You'll end up with a nice seam there. So now we're at the bib piece. Again, we're going to stitch it, we're going to go back, we're going to go back again. Pivot, come back along this side, and yes, I use my elbow to push the material out of my way. So we're at the other side waist strap. I'm keeping an eye as I go because my thread is actually, it's running really low. I almost didn't think I was going to be able to do this, but I fortunately had a second red of the same shade already here. The spot where my label goes. Okay, so we're back down at the bottom hem. So I think that this is going to be a good place to stop because I've got a few inches and then I've got where I started from. So I've got this much space to turn around. So I'm just going to back. And then we're actually going to go ahead at this point. Before we turn it, we're going to cut the corners. Be very careful that you don't get too close to your threads to where you sewed it. But we're going to just cut the corners. What this is going to do is this is going to reduce the bulk so that the corners lay nice and flat for us when we turn it. We're going to do all the corners, so there's going to be 6. Okay, there we go. All right, so here we go. This is the fun part. Now we are going to take our apron. We are going to pull it right sides out. And then we're going to just, with our finger, we're going to poke the corners out. Okay. Last one. So then we've got one last step that we need to do is going to be the top stitch. That's going to serve 2 purposes. A, it's going to give it a nice finished look, but we also need to close off that our turn gap. So you just want to fold those in. At this point, you know, if it's gotten wrinkly, you can give it a press. You know, you would press these as well. Make everything nice and crisp. and then you're just going to top stitch all the way around. Again, when you get to your armpit corners, just follow that curve, go nice and slow, and we're going to top stitch all the way around, and then it will be done. But first, let's go ahead and change out our thread, because that's all we had left. So we have a new one. Okay. So just gonna we're gonna give that a little pull. And then my machine back here goes through right in here. I actually like to hold it so I don't end up yanking like way too much. Down, up, down here. My machine actually is really nice. I have an automatic threader, so I put it up there, push a button, and voila, I am all threaded and I'm ready to get started. So here is our finished product. We've actually got our top stitch all the way done. Top stitch all the way around, so it's nice and professional looking. We've got our 2 neck straps, so whoever, you know, has it, they can, you know, however, if they want to tie it all, you know, up here, they want to tie it a little bit looser, you know, totally up to them. We've got our waist straps. So what I didn't mention earlier when we were talking about kind of the placement is you don't want to put either your neck straps or your waist straps, you don't want to put them right on the corner, because you've got to keep in mind your seam allowance when you're going along doing your stitching. Before you turn it right side out, or well, when you turn it right side out, you need space. You know, if you put it too close up there, then when you're stitching, you're gonna end up putting the strap in itself, because you didn't give yourself enough room. So you want to make sure that you know, allow yourself enough space so that you're not too close to your corners. And you know, you don't really want it, your straps, you don't want the neck straps all the way out there anyway. You want them, you know, a little bit. If they're too far out, then you're going to end up with the gap, but you don't want them too close either, because you want it to be comfortable. So, you know, that's why I've 10 on the top, 2 fingers, and then at the waist 3, you know, but as you can see, I used 3 fingers, but when I'm done, you know, it's really about 2, a little bit more than 2, because of my seam allowance. And you know, we put in the raw edge to the raw edge, so when we turned it right side out, we've got our nice finished edge, is the edge that's out on both the waist and the neck straps. So we have nice finished edges. We've got our apron with the pockets. So this is ready to go. Got my tag in there. So, you know, I would just say if you're making these to sell them and you have a tag, don't forget to add that. You know, depending on what kind of tags. You know, some people have just regular tags that you would just like sew on, but this one is actually a two-sided tag. The other side says machine wash. I actually have air dry on here. These aprons don't need to be air dried, they can go right in the dryer. But the reason I put air dry is because I also use these tags to make purses and tote bags, and I do not recommend putting those in the dryer because of the interfacing that are used. So it was just as easy for me to just go ahead and put air dry, and then, you know, I can just tell people go ahead and, you know, dry the apron as normal. But there it is. There's an apron. Not that bad at all. I hope that you make one, and please let me know how it went, and feel free to subscribe to the channel. We are going to be making other things. I've got a lot of things coming in the near future. We're going to be making a tote bag, we're going to be making a bowl cozy, and then we're going to jump back over to the Cricut. The other day I posted a bunch of ideas of things that we're going to be doing with the Cricut infusible ink transfer sheets. We're going to be doing coasters, we're going to do something on wood, we're going to do the phone pocket things. We're making those. Probably going to be doing up some earrings too. So we got a lot of stuff coming up, you know, just in time for fall. And you know, things that if you want to make anything to give as gifts for fall, you know, back to school, or the, you know, Christmas gifts. So we're going to be doing a lot. So you're definitely going to want to subscribe to the station so that you don't miss any of our future tutorials that are coming up with all the exciting things that we're going to be showing on Angela Shows You. Thanks a lot. Give a thumbs up and have a great day.